Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's extraordinary meeting of Georges River Council. I will declare the meeting open at 8:07 p.m. I will begin with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. I have an apology from Councillor Gow. If I could please call for a mover and seconder to accept those apologies. Moved by Councillor Anzalotti, seconded by Councillor Hayes. Councillors, all those in favour of granting the leave of absence, say aye. All those against, I declare that carried. There are no requests to join the audio-visual link. Notice of live streaming. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being webcast live on Council's website. This recording will be made available on Council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. Councillors, do any councillors have any disclosures of interest to declare? No. There are no speakers registered for tonight's meeting. And we move to the one item that is on the agenda, which is the notices of rescission, NR 00126, notice of rescission, CCL 12525, adoption of Georges River Council's Code of Meeting Practice 2025. And that's been moved by Councillor Lansbury. If I could please, and seconded by Councillor Jamieson. Councillor Lansbury.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the notice of rescission that appears in the business paper. Do I need to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
Is that published?
Okay. As it appears in the business paper, councillors, I think we've all seen it and it's available on the screen and online for everybody to read that. I'll just briefly, I am going to foreshadow an alternate motion if this one is carried, but I'll just briefly speak to this first. We sort of find ourselves in a situation that is unfortunate. In my experience, I haven't encountered a disallowance motion in the upper house that's affected council, so it's obviously created a bit of a stir. This particular new version of the Code of Meeting Practice was not well received by many councils, and a lot of submissions were made on a number of items contained in that. Some of it, there was some good things in it, but it actually didn't tick a lot of boxes for efficacy of councils, in my view. Things like the banning of private briefings. I still fail to understand how that can enhance transparency. What it has done is it has impacted, I think, more than anyone, the newer councillors, because they haven't had the capacity to sit down in briefings like we're having regularly every Monday, every second Monday or first Monday of the month. We're having briefings on a variety of issues, including planning matters, things that we dealt with tonight in the Environment and Planning Committee, the Portugal Scenic Protection Plan. We had, as Councillor Jamieson mentioned, a number of workshops relating to that and briefings with council officers. The newer councillors were particularly, I think, undermined by the lack of briefings. The public forum, I personally didn't like having it separated from the council meeting. I felt that there was a real disconnect with the actual meeting itself, and people were, I think we had a couple of meetings that we had one or two people in the gallery, which kind of failed to, I don't think it really reflected well on what we were dealing with at the council. We had the meeting a week before with people would come and speak to it, and I think they would hang around and listen to us debate the issues. Separating that, I think that was a backward step. And the other one, which was quite a significant step backwards, was banning the attendance of councillors online. One of the things that needs to be people need to be reminded of, who may not know, is that most of us have jobs. Most of us still have to have part-time jobs or full-time jobs, because effectively councillors are paid an allowance, which is not enough for us to live on. We do have a couple of our councillors that work for federal members of parliament, so they need to travel to Canberra on a regular basis. They have the capacity to join online if we had that capacity. And, you know, some of us do travel for work. I travel a couple of times a year. It hasn't coincided with a council meeting, but it just did not make sense to me that something that has worked very effectively whilst we were meeting under COVID circumstances back in 2021, it worked very effectively. Doesn't make sense to me that we can't. People in regional councils, they're the ones who are greatly affected, and even our neighbouring council, Bayside, continue to meet online, even though that was in breach of the code. I hope I'm not telling too many tales out of school, but because of the topography of Bayside, we've got Botany and Rockdale, which are not quite side by side. They would have, I think, their committee meetings over at Botany, which is quite a distance to travel. It's not like all of us who probably only got about 10 minutes at max to get to the council meeting. But I think it's a really interesting scenario that we find ourselves in, that only, June, sorry, so it's only been in effect since we've been meeting since February. So 4 council meetings in, it's being disallowed by the upper house. So I'll leave it at that. So I think, do we need to go to a vote, Madam Mayor, for this, or should I foreshadow the motion now? What would your preference be?
Yeah, we need to vote on the rescission motion, and you can foreshadow that you'll be proposing an additional motion once the rescission motion has been resolved.
Okay, thank you.
So we will, I will put to a vote the rescission motion, which has the effect of rescinding Part B that was adopted in December 2025, Part B of the motion from the meeting in December 2025, which in effect makes the 2025 draft Code of Meeting Practice null and void, and reverts back to the existing Code of Meeting Practice that was previously adopted, which was in June 2025. So that is what the rescission motion will have the effect of doing. I will put that to a vote now. All those in favour of the rescission motion say aye. Aye. All those against? I declare the rescission motion carried, and we will now move to the foreshadowed motion that Councillor Lansbury has foreshadowed, and I believe the staff have it up on screen there. Councillor Lansbury.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read it. It's on the screen. But as Mayor Bull just explained, we are reverting to the previous Code of Meeting Practice, and this is for clarity. I think that we need to have a little bit of clarity around it because it's an unusual situation. So I'll read this now. That Council note the Local Government General Amendment Model Code of Meeting Practice Regulation 2025 Amendment Regulation, which prescribed the 2025 Model Code of Meeting Practice for local councils in New South Wales 2025 Model Meeting Code, has been disallowed by the New South Wales Legislative Council. Note the disallowance of the amendment regulation means that the 2025 Model Meeting Code is no longer prescribed for the purposes of Section 360 of the Local Government Act 1993, LG Act, and the previous 2021 version of the Model Meeting Code now becomes a prescribed version. Note that at the ordinary meeting of Council held on 23rd of June 2025, Council adopted its Code of Meeting Practice, including the mandatory clauses within the 2021 version of the Model Meeting Code. Note that the Georges River Council Code of Meeting Practice, adopted at the ordinary meeting of Council held on 23/25, is reinstated. Note the parts of the Council resolution of the 8th of December 2025 meeting, CCL 125-25, not rescinded, as they are matters separate to the Code of Meeting Practice, that Council will adopt the revised committee meeting terms of reference for the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting, Community and Culture Committee meeting, Environment and Planning Committee meeting, Finance and Governance Committee meeting, the membership of Council's committee meetings to include all councillors, and that meetings will be held consecutively on the second Monday of the month. The current chairpersons of council's committee meetings will remain in place until September 2026 as per council resolution CCL 077-25. That the General Manager review the Code of Meeting Practice within 6 months with a view to incorporating supplementary provisions or on the prescription of an updated Model Meeting Code by the New South Wales Government. Further note, the provisions in Section 4 of the 2021 version of the Model Meeting Code stating that a council may hold a public forum prior to each ordinary meeting of the council for the purpose of hearing oral submissions from members of the public on items of business to be considered at the meeting. That items of business refer to Merrill minutes, reports to council and notices of motion only, being items of business of council.
Thank you, Councillor. Let's move back, Councillor Lansbury. If I could call for a seconder, please. Councillor Mort has seconded that. And Councillor Lansbury, do you wish to speak to this foreshadowed motion?
Thanks, Madam. I'll just speak briefly. I said a lot of it when I talked to the rescission motion. It's basically, this just simply provides us with a bit more clarity that we're reverting to our previous code of meeting practice in the interim. It is a regulation. It's not legislatively enforced. So the Minister may negotiate with the upper house. Who knows what he'll do to amend it to a format that is acceptable to them. They may start from scratch. They might throw the whole thing out, start from scratch. We don't know at this stage. So we need some certainty with how we conduct our business here at council, because that's the framework within how we meet, how we hold our committee meetings. I mean, one thing that we have done with this new code, which is something that we tried to do many years ago, back in 2017, I think, to hold our committee meetings concurrently. I think it does work well that all of the councillors are able to participate in all 4 committees, and we're going to retain that for now anyway. So I'm pleased that we're going to be doing that, and we will be reverting to our public forum prior to the council meeting, which I'm again really pleased about, because I do think that it makes I think there's a better connect than having it a week beforehand, and nobody's really going to be turning up to the council meeting. Perhaps they're going to stream it online, but you know, there's a sense of participation from the community when they can come and speak to us. And you know, to say that we're not capable of making decisions in the best interest of council, sometimes we have deferred items because something has been presented to us that maybe we haven't been considered, but that's always been in the minority. Very rarely that's happened. I think that we can actually hear the passion from some of our community members, and we're not weak-minded so that we can't actually make decisions for ourselves, and when we're all sort of functioning adults, I think we should be able to make our own decisions based on the information that's before us. And sometimes, you know, you're more convinced or less convinced when you hear somebody's point of view. So bringing public forum back, so it's just pretty much, it's housekeeping. I think, Madam Mayor, more so than anything else, we need to reinstate the previous code of meeting practice to for us to follow as a council for the foreseeable future.
Thank you. Yeah, so as Councillor Lansbury has outlined, this foreshadowed motion is really just enabling us to provide context, which will be documented in the minutes for our community, as to why the Code of Meeting Practice was rescinded, and that foreshadow motion does a very good job of explaining that, and also just highlighting what things aren't changing, like you mentioned with the committees. So just for members of the community, for reference, because we have rescinded the 2025 Model Code of Meeting Practice, there will not be a public forum held next Monday, the 16th of June, which was previously scheduled. So that now will not take place, and the public forum will now be held as part of the order of business of the council meeting, which I think is the 22nd of June. So that will form part of the order of business as it was in 2025 and prior. So that will now take effect. So council's website, I imagine, will be updated tomorrow with the new Code of Meeting Practice, which is the old Code of Meeting Practice, and also updating the dates of the public forum, which will now be held as part of the council meeting. We will wait in anticipation of potentially a new prescribed model code from the Minister, and if that does not come in the next 6 months, I think this motion says, we will we will proactively review the code of meeting practice ourselves if a new code is not prescribed in the next 6 months, because there were some things of merit that we introduced in the 2025 code and they're all being now thrown out. So there may be some improvements that we can make. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern. We will wait, see if anything comes from the minister, and if not, we can look to do the review ourselves. But of course, that would require us putting the code back out on public exhibition for public comment and then back to council for adoption again. So there we are. Does anybody else wish to speak to the foreshadowed motion from Councillor Lansbury? Councillor Pump?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, I have been speaking to council staff. Can I just understand this foreshadowed motion will retain the committee as a whole, committee meetings as a whole as we have run tonight? But under what schedule? Is it under the new code of meeting practice schedule that we had adopted a few months ago, in which
it's under the, if you scroll up, Nick, if you could scroll up a little bit. So see where it says there, note the parts of the council resolution from December 2025 that are not rescinded. So if you were to go back to that motion CCL 12525, it was like a really long motion. Part B of that motion is the only part that we just rescinded, but I can't remember what part is on the screen there. What part of that?
So part B was the part where we actually adopted the code, and the other parts to that motion were not as part of adopting the code. They were separate.
They weren't rescinded, so
Yeah.
they remain in place. So part of that resolution from December was that council adopt the revised committee meeting terms of reference for those, which those terms of reference, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kingley, they state that the meetings, all councils are members of all the committees, and that the committee meetings would run consecutively one after the other. So
I understand that under the current schedule, so I know that you've got,
the current
forgive me if I'm
code,
wrong, so there was a revised schedule that was put in earlier this year that changed the order of, so I can't remember if it was like public forum 1 week and then
the order of business. Yep. That applies to the council meeting. My understanding from the code of meeting practice is the order of business as listed in the code of meeting practice is the order of business for an ordinary council meeting, not the committee meetings.
Sorry, councillor, are you asking whether we'll be having the public forums as like the schedule of
So I
all the
think the
meetings?
cadence is you've got your public forum and then a week off and then committee
Yeah,
meetings.
so we cannot have the public forum separate to the council meeting now. So as
Week 3 gone.
the mayor explained,
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Week
so
3
we will
gone.
have, obviously, we can now bring back workshops. So weeks 1 and 3, we can put workshops if we have any business to bring to a workshop.
And you can join remotely.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I get that. What I'm trying to understand is the cadence of the weeks.
So
So you're removing week 3.
He's gone. Yeah.
Week 3 is gone, and then you can reserve that for workshops and briefings.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yes. So I didn't understand what you meant by the schedule. Now I understand the meeting schedules.
Meeting schedule.
So week 1 and week 3 have no meetings. Week 2 is committees. Week 4 is council, and so week 1 and 3 will likely be workshops and briefings as it was.
And
in
we'll be
2025.
updating all councillor calendar invitations tomorrow as well, in line with this decision motion tonight.
So you're going to be at council more because you used to get week 1 off.
Only if we have workshops scheduled.
Usually,
Yes.
Usually you get the 5th Monday off if there is one, which happens 2 or 3 times a year, maybe. Does that answer your question, Councillor Pun?
Yes, thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, I will, the foreshadowed motion is being moved by Councillor Lansbury, seconded by Councillor Moore, and I will put that motion to a vote. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. And there being no further business on the agenda, I will declare the meeting closed at 8:25 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance.